My name is Tayson. I'm a cartoonist and storyteller from Edmonton, and today I'd like to talk about sketchbooks. So about 6 or 7 years ago, I made the decision to be more intentional with my art and my comic making and actually try and make things and finish things and complete projects. And around that time, I started keeping sketchbooks. And it's probably been one of the biggest components that have helped me develop my art, develop my storytelling, and continue learning the craft. And over the years, I've actually kept a lot of sketchbooks. The idea for doing this video actually came from I'm just reorganizing, and I've taken all my sketchbooks over into a new location in my studio, and I've actually got a ton. Actually, I will show you right now how many I have. Okay, so here's the stack of sketchbooks that I've kept over the last 7 years or so, plus a bunch that fell on the floor over there. Yeah, so that's quite a lot of sketchbooks. I started out with these thicker, big hardcover ones, and I used to go to the art stores, and if I'd find like a really cool one with like a cloth cover or something, I'd buy it. Basically, all my life savings has gone into bound books of blank paper. Lately, I've been using these Moleskine ones, which are really nice because there's a lot of pages in them. They are thin enough that you can be messy with them and have fun with it, and they're a lot easier to keep stored because they're nice and small and they go like that. So I'll be talking a bit more about this in a second. What I want to say is, to me, sketchbooks are three things. One, they are a playground. 2, they are a classroom. And 3, they are a measuring stick. So number 1, it's a playground. So if you're anything like me, you're just swimming in self-doubt as an artist. So what's nice about your sketchbook is it's just for you. No one else has to see it. You can just keep that to yourself. You can play around in it. You can try out things. You can make mistakes. You don't have to, you can draw and create without the added pressure of someone's gonna see this, I have to make this perfect. You can be messy. Like sketchbooks are a great place. These are the first times I ever tried out using ink washes or using Copic markers and white pens and finding out the effects that those things can have. So, and it's, again, anatomy, who cares? Who cares in your sketchbook? You can do whatever you want. It's just for you. Some things work out nicely. Some things will turn out as like goopity-goop that makes no sense. It doesn't matter. It's your playground where you can just create, have fun, and not worry about what's to come or what people see in it or anything like that. Another thing where I say it's a playground, it's a place where you can just find ideas. It's like a garden where just things grow all of a sudden. Box Boy, my first graphic novel that was published this year, all started in my sketchbook. It started out from sketching out a little box creature and then wondering, I wonder what his story will be. And actually, the very first sketches, some of the very first sketches of Box Boy were terrifying. I've actually got one right here. Look at that. That's not cool. That's like, it's not very appealing look either. He's got his box head. He's really creepy. He's got like a juice box for an arm that's pouring out, and the crow is there. But this was a seed of an idea that eventually became this graphic novel and a much nicer looking design for Box Boy. So your sketchbook is a playground. It's a place where you can have fun, which is really awesome. So number 2 is it's a classroom. So it's a place, your sketchbook, it's a place where you can keep notes, you can work out theory, just learning how things work. You can keep all your references to things you've been learning. So here's one from a long time ago that I have just when I was trying to learn anatomy, and still not one of my strong suits and things like that. So this is a great thing I can go back to even now, years and years later, and I've got all these notes and all these things like that. Another thing, it's a great place to work on your technique and your style and develop that. One of the best ways to learn how to draw is by looking, reading, and copying. So especially when I was a kid, and even up to today, I'll look at my favorite artists, my favorite comics, and then I'll find a favorite panel, and then I'll go to my sketchbook and I'll try and copy it, and just see what works, what appeals to me of that drawing, why I like it, and just start incorporating it into my work. Your style, I've heard it said, is basically just a mixture of all your influences together, and you start to find your own style and way of drawing that you like. So your sketchbook's a great place to do that. It's a thing that only you have to see, that you can just work out your style. So it's a classroom in that sense. Another way it's a classroom is it's a good way to learn your storytelling chops. So with Box Boy, I had a sketchbook. It's lost its cover now, but this was my sketchbook. This was my workbook, and basically my script, my thumbnails, everything for making Box Boy, the graphic novel. So like as you can see in here, these are all the loose thumbnails from the story. So I'd plan it out, I'd make little notes on there, and then over here you can see it's just kind of, and it's a cool thing to keep too. Like after finishing a book, you have this physical thing you can hold that's kind of like the journey of what you took to get there. So you can see, like, especially Rome the mouse looked a lot different at the start. Just like little things like working out how exactly does he work, like how's his arms move, how are those mechanics and the physics of the world going to be, figuring out different things. Like, look how he was a chubby little rat earlier. Working out character designs, and then I keep a sketchbook for every single one of the ideas and the stories I have that I'm working on or want to work on. So like even here is working out possible end games for the story. It was going to end a lot differently, but the way I write my stories, I work a lot out of it, just going through the sketchbook and using it as a classroom and as a playground to figure out. This was figuring out the main beats of the story and what happens there. So yeah, like I said, I also keep a sketchbook for every story I want to work on or have ideas for. So I'll draw a little on the cover of a sketchbook what maybe some of the characters or whatever it's in. This is a story I want to work on maybe in a couple books from now. Currently working on a graphic novel. I'll post a video about that a little bit later another time. I'm about 36 pages into it so far, and I'm loving it. I'm just having so much fun with that. Here, a little spoiler alert. These guys figure into the story. These little stuffies. It's kind of yeah, you'll see. I'll tell you more about that later. And then this is like the big sketchbook I've got for the story I want to tell after the one I'm working on right now. And this is like literally chock full of notes and storytelling and working things out, character designs, figuring out the story. So at the time I was going to work on this graphic novel as my next book, but it ended up not being the right story for the right time. But as I was excited working on it, I've got all these notes ready for me to go. Basically, I've got the next book written already, which is exciting. It's a nice thing to have. So 2, your sketchbook is a classroom. And then number 3, measuring stick. So it's my theory that as long as you're consistently drawing, you're going to be consistently getting better at drawing and at your art and at your craft, even if it's just a little bit at a time. But since you're so close to your own work, it might be hard to see that growth and see that progression, and it can get discouraging. So one thing that's nice about keeping a sketchbook is it's a measuring stick. It's a thing that you can go back to, flip open a sketchbook from a few years ago, look at your art and be like, oh, okay, yeah, I have improved my skill level. Oh, I can now draw faces. Oh, I now know how to shade. Oh, I've learned how to do this. So that helps a lot. like for example, this sketchbook, and also it's a great idea to keep dates in your sketchbook, so you know you can kind of chart your progress. This one doesn't have a date, but this is an early sketchbook of mine, and look at that face. That's terrifying. That's supposed to be a beautiful lady. Measuring stick. So just one more thought as I sit here surrounded by all my sketchbooks, and that is, in my opinion, I think that keeping a sketchbook is one of the best ways to increase your artistic abilities and skills. And if making a comic is like making a movie, increasing your artistic ability is like increasing the budget that you have to make that movie. It just opens up so many more possibilities. You're able to do so many more things and add to the story. But same as like with making real big movies, a bigger budget doesn't necessarily mean a better story and a better movie. If the story isn't good, and especially in comics, if the storytelling isn't good and clear, then you're just gonna have a big mess on your hands. So sketchbooks, great way to increase your artistic ability. Story is still king. And we can talk more about that another time. All right, thank you so much for watching. Box Boy in stores now. Ask your local comic shop to get a copy, or you can contact me for a copy. I'm going to go do some sketchbooking.